Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, author of Visualizing Happiness in Every Area of Your Life and host of this podcast, Incredible Life Creator. And today I have with me Mr. Clifford Starks. Hey, Clifford.
Hey, Kimberly, how you doing? Thank you for
Hi.
having me on.
Yeah, and this is the second time you're going to be on, and I'm so excited to have you. And we are
Yeah,
talking about your new book. So I'm thrilled to talk about that too. I'm going to read just a short bio so people who haven't heard your last podcast can know who you are. So,
awesome.
Clifford Starks, a celebrated UFC fighter and martial arts Hall of Famer, has mastered the art of turning pressure into fuel for greatness. From his years in the ring to his work with top entrepreneurs and executives, Clifford understands that true strength comes from conquering inner battles and building unbreakable resilience. So I am very excited to get into this, but I think people should know a little bit about you. I was watching a video of one of your UFC fights where you came into the ring and there was a guy, I call him white shorts. So the guy in white shorts comes into the ring and he is a foot taller than you. A foot
Yeah.
taller than you. And I'm watching this fight and I'm looking at it going, "Oh my goodness." You guys are, well, it's in a cage,
hmm
and so you can't go anywhere. You're just stuck in there, and you guys are hitting each other up against the cage and getting stuck up against the cage and holding on and wrestling and punching. And I'm going, wow, why do people do this? First of all, what kind of mindset of person goes in and lets someone else hit them or hit someone else and be in there in that? And the other thing I was thinking is, man, if I walked into an enclosed cage where I couldn't get out and I saw my opponent was a foot taller than me, how would I be thinking? What would I be? What would
Yo,
my strategy be? So I'd like the details on, well, first of all, how did you get into this UFC? What made you decide to go in that direction? And I just want all the details.
yeah. For me, there's two missions in my life, and it took me some time to actually articulate and clarify them. But one mission, I wanted to live a life worth living. Like I want to just do things that other people don't do, go after things other people don't go after, take chances people don't take. And then the other part is teaching people how to love. And that's a God-given dream where or a God-given passion. It's something that's in me. I really know how to love people like they've never been loved before. And it's it's my job to teach people how to do that exact same thing. And some people, I had one coach actually go, well, how do you teach people how to love and punch them in the face? They're like, how do you do both? And I told him, uh, we both signed contracts. There's an agreement in place for what we're getting ready to do to each other. And that agreement, it's such an important piece. I would never hurt anyone or attack anyone or do anything of that nature unless I'm defending or protecting myself. But when we're signing a contract, we have an agreement on competing. It's a competition to me.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, what did you think when you walked into the ring and this gentleman was a foot taller than you? What goes through your mind? How do you prepare yourself for that?
Yeah.
Obviously, you're preparing for a long time, but how to prepare yourself when the person is more of a giant, like
Yeah.
David Goliath, how do you prepare yourself for those situations?
So I didn't know, do I go for the legs or do I stick with the body? And what I love mixed martial arts is do something and then do what they don't think you're going to do. And so I was starting high and then going low. So I'd go high, keep the feet standing, keep it on top, and then I would go underneath them and take them down. And really, life is a game of patterns. Fighting is a game of patterns as well. And when you figure out what works versus what doesn't, then you start utilizing that and you're like, oh, okay, this is working. Now, the crazy thing, this guy could hit like a brick shit house, like he had power in his hands. Luckily, he didn't catch me with any of it until the third round. That wasn't very exciting, but um, you stick to your plan even when your brain doesn't want you to stick to the plan. And what I mean by that is your brain will come up with all these negative thoughts on why you should even be doing this. Like every time I go walking towards the cage, my brain's like, I can't believe we're doing this again. Why are we doing this again? and and it the brain is a protective mechanism. It's there to protect us. To me, living a life worth living, right? Like live a life worth living, taking chances. It's about taking chances. And that's where the juice of life lies to me. Because when you take a chance and then you do it like, I did.
That's right. It's exciting when you win or
Yeah.
when you get your, whatever it is you were working towards.
Yeah. And the cool thing, because I go, okay, what I learned, everything's a learning lesson. Like everything. Because sometimes you don't get it. But you get to learn who your haters are. You get to learn who holds you up and who's got your back. You get to learn all sorts of things. So ultimately, you're going to learn something. Like, go take the chance and go learn what you're going to learn.
Mm-hmm. That is true because what they say, you can't please everybody all the time. In fact, you can't
Yeah,
please everybody all
there
the
is
time
no way.
ever. There's always
There
going
is
to
no
be people
way.
who love you, people who hate you, people who are jealous of you and say mean things.
Yeah, yeah. I go, because authenticity is a big word right now. We want people to be authentic. I know in my belief, being the best you can be in the moment that you're being it is the name of the game. Because we have so many things going in our head all of the time. Where if I looked at someone and they told me they're 100% authentic all the time, I would have trouble believing.
Mhm.
Because you don't, and it's not like they're saying to themselves, well, I'm not going to be authentic in this situation. Like, but you have all of these conditionings and all of these frameworks and all of these belief systems and all of these stories. There's moments where you're going to, oh, well, I got to do this, or I got to act like this, or I got to. And what I do for people is I let them be who they're going to be. And I let them know it's okay to be who you're meant to be,
Mhm.
because it's kind of scary being who you're meant to be on certain circumstances and certain situations. I want people to know, like, it's all good. You're good with me.
Mhm.
And when they're good with me, I'm good with them, and we all win.
Mhm. That makes
And
sense.
that's the whole teach them how to love thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times at the times we're being inauthentic, not that we're not saying, oh, I want to be inauthentic right now, but I think it's all fear-based. It's either love or
Yep.
fear. I mean, they don't coexist ever. So when you're feeling
Hmm.
like you have to do something to fit in, or you're doing something out of fear because you're doing something to move away from something else, then that's
Hmm.
fear-based.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
You know, and that's different than speaking Spanish when you go to a Spanish country. I mean, there's just things we do to fit in so that we can create rapport with people. Because
Yep.
we're talking about, we definitely want to create rapport. So you want to speak that person's language, but you still can be authentic while speaking their language.
Absolutely. And authenticity, just like everything else, is moving. I
Mm-hmm.
literally just thought about this. Like, let's for to give an example. So I used to be a personal trainer. And in order for someone to go from where they're at to where they want to be, they have to act as if. I've seen this time and time again. People have to, some people say fake it till you make it. I'm not a big fan of fake it till you make it. I'm a fan of this is who I am now.
Mm-hmm.
This is who I am now. This is how I show up now. And in that transition, if I'm telling them, oh, you're being inauthentic to yourself. Oh, you sucked here. Oh, you made a mistake here. I'm not there to do that to them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm there to support them in the growth of who they're becoming.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want to be this anymore. I want to be this. But there is trials and tribulations and a process to getting to that space.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure. I mean, you know that more than anyone. I mean, when we're getting ready to do this podcast, you said, "Well, can I be walking while we're doing this?" Your training is in place. And that's, I mean, as part of life, your training needs to be in place.
Yep.
And you can't let other things take you out of your training because
Yep.
then the consistency is gone. And I know in my life, in my profession as a doctor, I had a therapy center, and also just as a person who loves exercise. Consistency is the key to almost everything. Even if you get up and do something else, as long as you move.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
get up and do something, even on the day
Yep.
you don't feel like it.
100%. Absolutely.
So, but I would like to talk more about the book. So,
Yeah.
tell me about the book. Tell us all about.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's called The Fighter's Formula, Winning the Game of Life. And as I've gone through this journey, I'm a dad, a husband. Uh, I am a friend. I'm a coach. I'm a consultant. I'm so many things under the sun. And as I've gone through it, there's foundational pieces that when you get the foundations right, you get everything else right. And I took she's a therapist, a mental therapist. And I showed her how to throw proper punches. And at first, she did terrible because, again, this starts with belief systems.
Mm,
Our belief systems are going to guide our behaviors. So if I say, I suck at this, I do that, like your brain is just like, all right, let's go suck. Like, this is what you're gonna say. This is what we're gonna do. And there's a saying, what we focus on grows. What we focus on grows. And I've trained myself to focus in on the most positive and negative pieces. And I say the positive and the negative pieces because to pretend like the other stuff doesn't exist would be crazy and lunacy. But to see it all and then to go, okay, what now and what next? And my book, it literally it is the framework to winning this game called life. Because I think everybody wants to win the game of life. And I tailored it for people who want to grow. I support business owners and entrepreneurs right now, but ultimately, I want people who are looking to grow, people who want more. They don't want to live a life like, well, I lived, paid bills and taxes, and then I died. Like, I don't want to do that to them.
exactly. So, what is in the book?
Yeah, yeah. So it shows ultimately most things start with a question, and that's how you hook the mind. The right questions will get you thinking the right way. And so once you get thinking the right way, then it's what are the actionable steps that we take? Okay, what do we do now? There are three things that are important to align. so that you can step in with your truth. And I say, if you have your mind in place, you have your heart in place, and you have your skills in place. And skills also include strategy. If you don't know how to effectively put a strategy together, life can be very tricky and very hard. The same is true with fighting. Definitely get the right strategy. Because if you're in there with the wrong strategy, I'm very sorry for that person.
I'm very sorry for that person.
Yeah, but I'll tell you the beauty of fighting. What I love about fighting, fighting has some of the fastest feedback loops you'll ever find. Like you'll know if you're doing it right or wrong right away.
Yes.
You won't need any question. Like you're doing that wrong. Yeah, but the book encompasses those three things. Like, okay, well, how do I go about getting my mind aligned? How do I get my heart aligned? How do I get my skill sets aligned so that I can live the life that I want to live and that I choose to live?
Got it. So it's kind of a plan, a blueprint, some people would call it, of
Yeah.
we all love those step by steps. That helps us.
Yes. Yeah. I even have, and I should have put it in the back. I'm gonna do some additions, but I have Cliff Notes in the back, but I didn't call them Cliff Notes, and I should have because my name's Cliff. But it's just little simple actionable pieces because I wanted to make this, I wanted this book to be something that people could follow and use throughout their lifetime. Because when I say winning the game of life, there's times you have to go back and review something. Like you don't just, well, I did my push-ups, so I should have an amazing chest and never have to do a push-up again, right? Like, no, that's not how the game works. So it's like, all right, let me review. Let me go back to, oh, I remember this.
Hmm. Well, yeah, and when you talk about reviewing and specifically like exercise, um, we're always having to kind of move and change. I mean, if you
Yeah.
did, 20 push-ups every day for 20 years, you wouldn't really grow. You might maintain maybe,
Hmm.
probably not as you get older.
Yeah.
But we have to look and see where do we need to go next? What's our next step? Or what's our next level? Because if we're
Yes.
going up in levels, we're still not growing. Because
Hmm.
growing is always moving forward. Because
Yep.
either we move forward or we actually move backward. People think, well, I'm just staying where I'm at. And there's never, people think they're staying with, there is never staying where you're at. It's
No.
always
Yeah.
moving forward or moving backward. So if you're not doing activities or thinking forward, then you're going backward, whether you know it or not.
Yep. 100%.
So, um, so when you're working with people, how is it that you work with them?
So I usually start with asking questions because if I were to say, I'm the expert, I know what to do, like, well, that doesn't really matter. I don't know anything about the person that I'm talking to. So I got to ask questions to understand them, understand how they show up to the world, understand what they want, understand their patterns.
Hmm. And then once you have patterns, because that's really important to know where you're starting from. It's
Yep.
interesting that even a lot of adults don't even know where they're at. They they
Yep.
think they know where they're at, but they don't know where they're at. And then you ask those questions, and they go, "Oh, I didn't realize I was doing that or I was thinking that way."
Yeah. Well, there's a humility to life. And so, for instance, like you're an optometrist, you can see things that I cannot see. You can diagnose my eyes in a way that I couldn't see them even if I tried. And so there's always going to be all sorts of things that we, the one thing I like to say, I am extremely aware, say that with confidence. I go, I am aware that I'm not aware of much. Like that is what I am aware of. I'm aware of, I'm not aware of that much. And so I get to listen to people and they have whatever belief they have and they see the world in whatever the way they see the world. And the more I look into another person's world, the more I actually understand my
Mhm. That is the wonderful thing about coaching or teaching or any place where you're in authority or you're the one supposedly the leader, is that you
own.
always heal, you always learn more. Even a healer who is sending their energy to the person is actually being healed while they're healing. So
Yeah.
it's just a wonderful thing about the way life works.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So what are some of the things you've learned in the last year that have been insightful, helpful, maybe surprising?
What we focus on grows. And I say that because life is a game of layers. And you'll know something, but you'll know things at a deeper level, and then a deeper level, and then a deeper level. What I didn't realize on my journey, I'm actually really bad at asking for help. Like I was really, really bad at that. And I realized I'm like, oh my goodness, I figured it out. I figured it out. Most people will try to help you in things they have no business helping you in. And so in doing that, like I just don't ask many people for help. But as a leader, it's my duty to be intentional with who can help how. Like everyone wants to help. Everybody wants to. Whether they can or not, that's another story altogether. And I'll give you a perfect example. I have coached people, I have consulted people, I have been a personal trainer, and every single time there's a joker somewhere who's like, "You pay how much to do what? I can show you how to do that." And it's like they're not paying me they're not paying me for me to do it for them, and I couldn't do it for them even if I wanted to.
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Oh, everybody has to go through their lessons. Everybody has to go through their journey." I would have loved to jump in people's body and do it for them, but I couldn't.
Mhm.
Like I had to learn that. And I had to learn like, oh, I'm bringing something out of them, something different out of them that no one else can bring out of them. That's what they're paying me for.
Mhm.
They're paying me for the results they want to get. And I go, oh, everybody's playing their game of life. They're playing it in the best way that they know how to play it. And I go, well, I would never pay for that. I would never do that. I would never do this. I would never. I go, okay, every human being on the planet, myself included, instead of asking what you wouldn't pay for, why don't you just go pay for the stuff that you would pay for?
Mhm. Exactly. I mean, I know there are people who have paid coaches in excess of $100,000, uh, you know, just for a consult or for, you know,
Yep.
a few weeks of advice, and
Yep.
and they'll come back and say it was worth every penny.
Mm-hmm.
We have to take a look at what is valuable to us and
Yep.
where do we put our resources and who is the person who can move us forward. And then the money doesn't matter. I mean, as long as you have it, but I mean, it's what results you're getting. So yeah, that's really interesting. That
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and probably the people that are saying, "Oh, I could have done that for you," they're probably not doing it the way you're thinking.
They're
You
not even doing
are.
it for themselves. Like that's the funny like there's there's believing something and then knowing something.
Mhm,
And beliefs are easy to have. They're super easy to come by.
mhm,
I believe this. I believe I believe getting in shape is exercising and eating right. And it is.
mhm,
But what's their mind saying? What are the stories that they're saying to themselves? What's the patterns that they have? How do they show up in the world? Like, no, just eat right and exercise. Pay me some money and then I'll tell you what to do and then you'll go do it, right? Yeah, like, okay, like no, that's not how that works.
Yeah, yeah. It's those small tweaks. I mean, and exercise is easy for me to talk about because I've been in the gym my whole life. But I mean, even
Yeah.
when you're lifting weights, just turning your wrist a little bit more to one side changes
Hmm.
the work and changes the muscle that's where the cut comes in.
Yeah.
Just those small little tweaks that, you know, you might think you're doing it right, if you will. You might say, well, I'm putting in the reps, I'm doing everything, and I'm doing it properly. But did you know that there's this little tweak you can do? And that's where a coach comes in. They
Yep.
show you the tweaks that you didn't know about, or the small little movements that you didn't realize that there was a difference. Oh, there is a difference between this and this.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
So, yeah. And anything else you want to share with us?
Um, Everybody keep being amazing as they're going through their journey. Keep having a lot of fun along the journey. If you feel compelled to get the fighter's formula, winning the game of life, and you really, really like it, please give me a review. And if you didn't, you can even take a picture of you sticking up the middle finger and just tell me what to fix so that I can fix it.
All right. So if people wanted to contact you, connect with you, um, what is your website? Where do they get the book?
Yeah, yeah. So the website is thefightersformula.com. And then you can get the book on Amazon. Just type in The Fighter's Formula, Winning the Game of Life. You can type in my name, Clifford Starks. And to get a hold of me, you can find me on Facebook or LinkedIn. Those are the easiest ways to get a hold of me. I would give you my email, but I don't always check my email. I'm just going to be honest. But I check my Facebook and I check my LinkedIn on a regular basis because I'm constantly giving value to entrepreneurs and business owners who are looking to grow in their life and in their business.
Right. Wonderful. That is so awesome. So I'm going
Yeah,
to
thank
ask
you.
you this question I ask at the end of all my podcasts, but it might be different from the last time. So, what has given you the
Okay.
happiness and fulfillment in your life at this point?
My kids. Yeah, I got a lot of love for my kids, and they make me the best leader that I can be as I go through the journey. They get me better each and every day. Um, because they take energy. They do. And they take innovation. You got to think things through as you're going through your process. They wear me out sometimes. They wear my wife out. And I'm like, all right, I know there's a solution in here somewhere. We're going to figure it out. And they are my pride and joy. I love them so much. I love them so dearly. And they are absolutely amazing, beautiful godsends.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for writing this book and being here on our podcast. And I have one last question.
Yeah.
What is your best advice on living an incredible, amazing life?
Go after your life and not somebody else's.
I love that. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Cliff.
Yeah. Thank
Hey,
you. I appreciate you as always.
yeah, yeah. And I want everyone to go out and get this book and read it and apply it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually, so everybody, I'm looking to influence 1 billion people. Um, the biggest thing that I've also learned in my journey, everybody I influence influences me in some way, form, or fashion. So it would mean the world to me if you got the book, you shared it out, because I can't do this by myself. It's not possible. And I'm glad to know that. That's actually another lesson that I learned because I did try and do it all by myself and it doesn't work.
That also is great advice. Thank you so much, Clifford.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you again soon.
Talk soon. Take care, everybody.